Cardi B just walked out of a California courtroom victorious after a jury spent less than 1 hour deciding she didn't owe a security guard $24 million, and both women immediately spoke to the press saying completely opposite things. And honestly, this whole case is wild from start to finish. We're talking about an incident that happened 7 years ago in 2018 when Cardi was secretly pregnant and paranoid about being exposed. A confrontation in a doctor's office hallway that allegedly turned physical. A security guard claiming she got cut in the face with 3-inch nails and spat on. And Cardi swearing on her deathbed she never touched this woman. The trial went viral for all the wrong reasons because Cardi showed up in different wigs every day giving iconic testimony and one-liners that became instant memes. But underneath all the entertainment there's a serious story about what really happened that day and why two women are telling completely different versions of the same event. So let me break down this entire saga because the aftermath interviews are just as dramatic as the trial itself. Let's start with what everyone agrees on. February 2018. Cardi B is in Los Angeles for NBA All-Star Weekend doing promo work. She's 4 months pregnant with her first baby culture, but she hasn't told anyone yet. Not the public. Not really anyone outside her close circle. This is a huge secret because pregnancy announcements are planned carefully in the celebrity world. You control the narrative. You do a photo shoot. You make it a moment. You don't let some random person leak it and ruin everything. So Cardi is being extremely cautious about keeping this pregnancy under wraps. She goes to her obstetrician's office in a Beverly Hills medical building for a checkup. The office actually closed early that day specifically to give Cardi privacy. Her doctor David Finca and his receptionist both testified about this. They knew she wanted to keep things quiet, so they cleared out other patients and locked things down. But in the hallway of this building there's a security guard on duty. 24-year-old Emani Ellis. She'd been working security at that building for 4 years. No criminal record. Fingerprinted by the state of California for the job. By all accounts a regular working person doing her job. And this is where the stories completely diverge. According to Emani, she was standing in the 5th floor hallway when she saw Cardi. And she got excited because she recognized her. She testified that she called out Cardi's name. Not to anyone in particular. Just said it out loud like, "Oh my God, that's Cardi B." And according to Emani, Cardi immediately got aggressive. Turned around and the first words out of her mouth were, "Why the fuck are you telling people that you see me?" Emani says she tried to calm Cardi down. Told her she wasn't telling anyone anything. But Cardi was extremely upset. Emani claims Cardi got in her face. Put her finger right in her face. Started cursing her out, calling her a fat ass bitch, saying, "I'm gonna beat your ass, I'm gonna get you fired, that's why you do security." Just going off on her. But here's where it gets to the assault allegations. Emani testified that during this confrontation Cardi scratched her face with her fingernails. And we're talking about Cardi's nails here. If you know anything about Cardi, you know she wears long elaborate designer nails. Sometimes they're 3 inches long. Sometimes longer. They're basically weapons. Emani claims one of those nails cut her cheek. Left a scar. She says Cardi also spat on her during this attack. And the whole thing left her deeply traumatized. She testified that she was humiliated. That the incident was so severe she needed plastic surgery to fix the scar on her face. And that she ended up losing her job because the attention from having an altercation with a celebrity was too much. The actual moment of contact, then you're relying on people's word. And 7 years later memories get fuzzy. Details get confused. It becomes a he said she said situation. The trial started in late August 2025. More than 7 years after the incident. Think about that. 7 years. Emani filed the lawsuit back in 2020, but it took 5 more years to actually get to trial. And during those 7 years this case hung over Cardi. Every time someone brought it up in interviews. every time it was mentioned online. The $24 million figure got repeated over and over. 24 million. That's an insane amount of money. And it immediately made people question if this was a legitimate case or if Emani was just trying to get a payday from a rich celebrity. And Cardi's lawyer made that argument explicitly. During the trial, they argued that Emani saw dollar signs. Saw an opportunity. Thought Cardi would just settle and pay her to make the case go away. That's what a lot of celebrities do when they get sued. They settle. Because fighting it in court costs money. Takes time. Creates bad publicity. Sometimes it's easier to just pay someone off even if you didn't do anything wrong. But Cardi refused. She was not settling. She was fighting this all the way. And that decision turned out to be the right one. The trial itself became a whole spectacle. Cardi showed up every day in different outfits and different wigs. One day she's got long blonde hair. Next day it's a short black bob. She's wearing designer clothes. Sunglasses. She looked like she was going to a fashion show, not a courthouse. And Court TV was streaming the testimony live. So people were watching in real time. Watching Cardi give these animated responses on the stand. At one point the prosecutor asked her a question and her response was so deadpan and sarcastic that it became an instant meme. People were making TikToks. Making compilations. The trial was trending on Twitter. It became entertainment. But for Cardi this was serious. She testified for 2 days. And you could tell she was frustrated. She kept saying variations of "I did not touch that woman." Over and over. Emphasizing it. Getting emotional about it. Because her reputation was on the line. If a jury found her liable, it wouldn't just cost her money. It would make people think she's violent. That she assaults people. That she can't control herself. And in an industry where image is everything, that's devastating. After the testimony wrapped, closing arguments happened on Tuesday, September 2, 2025. Both lawyers made their final pitches. Emani's lawyer argued she was abused. She was harmed. She was assaulted and battered by Cardi B and Cardi B needs to pay for that. Interestingly, by the end of the trial, Emani had actually lowered her demand. She was no longer asking for the full $24 million. Her lawyer said they were now seeking just her medical expenses plus $250,000. Still a significant amount, but nowhere near $24 million. Which makes you wonder why the $24 million was ever the number in the first place if they were willing to accept so much less. Cardi's lawyers argued this was a frivolous lawsuit. That Emani couldn't prove her claims. That the evidence didn't support her story. That witnesses contradicted her version of events. And that this whole thing was about money, not justice. They told the jury, don't reward this behavior. Don't send a message that you can sue a celebrity with no proof and get paid. The jury got the case in mid-afternoon. And then something wild happened. They came back in less than 1 hour. 55 minutes to be exact. That's incredibly fast for a civil trial. Usually juries deliberate for hours or days, especially in a case with this much money at stake. But this jury heard all the evidence, looked at each other, and apparently said, yeah, we don't believe her. Unanimous verdict. Cardi B is not liable. She doesn't owe Emani anything. $0. Cardi walked out of that courthouse vindicated. She wore a black outfit with white polka dots and a red bow. Very on brand. And she immediately talked to reporters. And she did not hold back. She said, I am not even playing around. Even if I'm at my deathbed, I swear to God I will say it at my deathbed, I did not touch that woman. I did not touch that girl. I didn't lay my hands on that girl. She was emphatic. Passionate. You could hear the relief in her voice, but also the anger that she had to go through this at all. Then she issued a warning. And this is the part that went viral. She said, the next person to try to do a frivolous lawsuit against me, I'm going to countersue and I'm going to make you pay because this is not okay. She continued, people have this misinterpretation of celebrities like, oh well, we can ask for this and they're going to settle. Don't you ever think that you're going to sue me and I'm just going to settle and just give you my money. It's not going to happen. She was drawing a line in the sand. Telling anyone watching, don't try this. I will fight you. And I will win. She also talked about how hard this has been on her personally. She said it's been really tough dealing with this case in the middle of her album rollout. That she missed her kid's first day of school on Tuesday because she was in court. She's a mom of 3 now. Culture, who's 7. Wave, who's 4. And Baby Blossom, who was born in September 2024. She's also in the middle of a divorce from Offset that she filed for in July 2024. So she's juggling a lot. And having this lawsuit hanging over her head for 5 years since filing and 7 years since the incident has been exhausting. Cardi thanked her lawyers. Thanked the jury. Thanked the judge. And then she made one more important statement. She asked her fans not to troll or attack Emani online. Which is actually really mature and classy of her. Because Cardi has millions of fans. The Bardi Gang, as they're called. And they can be ruthless when they think someone's coming for Cardi. So her telling them to stand down and not harass Emani, even though Cardi won, is showing some grace in victory. But then Emani also spoke to press. And her statement was completely different in tone. She said she's not at all sorry for pursuing the case. That she's not disappointed. That for her it was about accountability. She said, I had my day in court. I showed up. I held my head high. And I can walk away and say I showed up. She had to look me in the eye. I had to look her in the eye. And we did our best. She said, I don't want it to be overlooked. I don't want it to be something that's brushed under the rug. What she did to me was real. So even after losing, Emani is maintaining her story. She's saying, I know what happened to me. I know what I experienced. A jury didn't believe me, but that doesn't change my truth. And she announced she plans to appeal the decision. She's not done fighting. She also said she's planning to go to law school. Which is interesting. Maybe this whole experience made her want to understand the legal system better. Maybe she thinks if she'd been a lawyer herself, she could have argued the case differently. Now let's talk about the bigger implications here. This case highlights a really uncomfortable truth about celebrity lawsuits. When you're famous and rich, you're a target. People know you have money. They know you probably have insurance that will settle claims. They know you want to avoid bad publicity. So some people see celebrities as walking ATMs. File a lawsuit. Make some allegations. Wait for the settlement check. And a lot of times it works because celebrities just want it to go away. But Cardi refused to play that game. She could have settled this years ago for probably a few $100,000. Made it disappear. Moved on with her life. Instead, she fought it. Spent money on lawyers. Spent time preparing testimony. Went through the stress of a trial. Put her reputation on the line. All because she refused to pay for something she says she didn't do. And the jury agreed with her. But here's the thing. Even though Cardi won, she still lost in some ways. Her name is now permanently associated with this case. When you Google Cardi B, this lawsuit comes up. Articles about it will exist forever. People will always remember that she was sued for $24 million even if they don't remember she won. That's the price of being famous. You can be falsely accused, and even if you prove you're innocent, the accusation still sticks to you. For Emani, this case is complicated too. She genuinely believes something happened to her. Whether Cardi caused her injury or not, Emani has a scar that she says required plastic surgery. She lost her job. Her life was disrupted. And from her perspective, she's the victim. She's the little guy going up against a powerful celebrity trying to get justice. But without evidence that could convince a jury, she's left with nothing but her story. And in court, your story isn't enough. You need proof. The fact that the jury deliberated for less than an hour suggests they didn't find Emani's case credible. That's not a good sign. It means they looked at the evidence and quickly concluded, nope, this didn't happen the way she's claiming. Whether that's because they believed Cardi more or because Emani couldn't prove her allegations, we don't know. But the outcome is clear. No money. No damages. Case dismissed. And now Emani is talking about an appeal. But appeals are expensive. And they're hard to win. You have to prove there was a legal error in the trial. You can't just say the jury got it wrong. You have to show the judge made a mistake in how the trial was conducted. And that's a high bar to clear. So Emani might be fighting an uphill battle if she goes that route. What this case really shows is how messy these celebrity lawsuits can be. You have two people with completely different stories about what happened 7 years ago. No video evidence. No photos. Just witnesses who saw parts of it and testimonies that contradict each other. And a jury that has to decide who's telling the truth based on incomplete information. It's not clean. It's not simple. It's just messy human conflict playing out in a courtroom. Cardi's warning to other potential plaintiffs was clear. Don't try to shake me down. I will fight. And based on this verdict, juries might be skeptical of future lawsuits against her too. Because if someone already tried this and lost spectacularly, why would another case be any different? It sets a precedent. It tells people Cardi's not an easy target. But it also raises questions about the legal system. Should this case have even gone to trial? Did Emani have enough evidence to justify a $24 million lawsuit? Her lawyers clearly thought so, or they wouldn't have taken the case. But after less than an hour of jury deliberation, it's hard not to wonder if this was a waste of everyone's time. The court's time. Cardi's time. The jury's time. All for a case that was rejected almost immediately. On the other hand, everyone deserves their day in court. If Emani genuinely believes she was wronged, she has the right to pursue legal action. That's how the justice system works. You bring your case. Present your evidence. Let a jury decide. And that's exactly what happened. She got her day in court. She lost. And now she has to live with that outcome. So what happens next? Cardi goes back to her life. She's got an album to finish. Kids to raise. A divorce to finalize. She's putting this behind her. For Emani, it's less clear. If she appeals, this could drag on for another year or more. And even if she appeals, she'll probably lose. The evidence that wasn't enough for a trial jury isn't going to suddenly be enough for an appeals court. The internet has mostly moved on already. The memes were fun while they lasted. Cardi's different wigs every day became a whole thing. Her testimony clips went viral. But now that the verdict is in, people are looking for the next story. That's how celebrity news works. It's a constant cycle. Something dramatic happens. Everyone talks about it. Then it's forgotten when the next thing comes along. But for Cardi and Emani, this isn't just a news story. It's their lives. Cardi had to sit in a courtroom and defend herself against allegations she says are false. Had to relive this incident from 7 years ago. Had to worry about her reputation and her money. And Emani had to sit across from Cardi and tell her story knowing the whole world was watching. Knowing she might lose. And then losing and having to process that publicly. Nobody really wins in situations like this. Cardi won legally, but she still had to go through the stress. Emani lost legally and still feels wronged. And all of us watching got some entertainment out of it, but learned nothing about who's actually telling the truth. Because the truth in these situations is probably somewhere in the middle. Something happened that day in that hallway. Two women had a confrontation. It escalated. And they both walked away with completely different memories of what occurred. That's the frustrating reality of cases like this. We want clear answers. We want to know definitively who was right and who was wrong. But life doesn't work that way. Human memory is fallible. People perceive things differently. And 7 years later, everyone's story has been shaped by time and perspective and emotion. So maybe both of them believe they're telling the truth. Maybe Cardi genuinely doesn't think she touched Emani. And maybe Emani genuinely believes Cardi attacked her. And maybe what actually happened is something neither of them remembers accurately anymore. What we know for sure is that a jury looked at all the evidence and sided with Cardi. That's the only objective fact we have. Everything else is interpretation and opinion. And as Cardi said, even on her deathbed she'll maintain she didn't touch that woman. And Emani will probably maintain for the rest of her life that something real happened to her that day. Two truths existing side by side. Neither one able to fully prove their version. So what do you think happened? Do you believe Cardi that she never touched Emani, or do you think maybe something physical did happen and Cardi's just denying it? Do you think Emani genuinely believes her story, or do you think this was always about money? And do you think it's fair that it took 7 years for this case to get resolved? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is one of those situations where everyone's going to have a different take based on who they believe more. And if you made it to the end, thanks for sticking with this whole complicated story. Make sure you like and subscribe, because celebrity legal drama never ends and there's always another case right around the corner. See you in the next one.